And so, the words that caught me were the God consciousness versus the self or the ego consciousness. And that's kind of, I'm glad you mentioned the 6th and 7th step, because that's where we get sick and tired of all the ego's little sort of easing God out ploys and attitudes, fear of the future, regretting the past, comparing ourselves to others, that's one of my favorites, resentments, jealousy, dishonesty, wanting to be the center of the universe. So it's no accident that the whole program is really designed to deflate the ego and bring God in as the guidance system. And yet we're humans, so we have that ego self and that survival instinct that triggers, a lot of fear and so on. And I was thinking that the ego is almost like the opposite of all the promises. If you take any promise and turn it around, that's what the ego does. But the God consciousness brings us those promises, and it's someone mentioned getting a new perspective. So I love how all of you have been saying so far that when we have a big, quote, big decision, or it feels important, or something that, a little curveball, that we wait, and one of the favorite things I've heard in Al-Anon is waiting is an action. Because usually we want to take an action, right, to fix the thing that's bothering us. And so how do we know the action? Well, our brain starts going and analyzing, well, if I do this, if I hadn't done that, what about that? And that's kind of driven by our fear selves, probably our ego, and not so much by our God selves. So, the idea of waiting, and during the waiting, when I have something scary going on or a decision, I try to fill up the God bank. More meetings, more prayer meditation, realizing that my perspective is a bit off now. I'm scaring myself with my thoughts, but don't take them too seriously. They're just those thoughts. And asking God to shift my thinking, to shift my perspective, so that I see things the way my higher power would have me, which is usually through the eyes of love and courage and care and compassion, But I did find myself comparing, and I was going to call, the ego deflation as a topic, because I looked at this woman's credentials and everything, and I could feel jealousy, and I thought, my God, what is that about? But that's such a human emotion for a person who, that ego says you got to be at the top of the pile. You got to, it's such a silly message, but I'm grateful that I could see it and say, oh, that's not the truth. God help me to see it differently. So that's all I have. Thanks.